Good afternoon and welcome to the 1 p.m. Budget and Special Projects Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 17th. Item number 1, I call this meeting to order. 2, ordinance adopting the annual budget of the City of Tulsa for the fiscal year 2026-2027, ordering the transfer of enterprise income to the general fund, appropriating unexpended balances for grant funds and capital projects funds for fiscal year 2026, ordering and directing the computation and filing of levy requirements for the 26-27 sinking fund of the City of Tulsa, Oklahoma, reserving fund a balance of 10% as an emergency operating consistency in the general fund. And then I'm going to read item number 3, also ordinance approving the adopted the capital improvement plan for the City of Tulsa for fiscal year 27 through 31 as part of the fiscal year 26-27 annual budget. 4, ordinance amending Title 43K of the Tulsa Revised Ordinances, which is the City of Tulsa's expenditure policy for the 2017 limited purpose economic development temporary sales tax, amending the projects and purposes for which expenditures and proceeds may lawfully be made, providing for severability. Here we go. All right. Who wants to go? Any questions? Any discussion? Yes, Councilor Dr. Wright.
Yes, here we are again. Small budget meeting was held earlier today to reflect back some of the discussion that we had last week and throughout this week. I know different folks have had different conversations with community partners, stakeholders, constituents, and staff here in City Hall, just to get clarity on those like lingering questions. I know emails had come through, so we took time this morning. We at the Small Budget Committee, myself, Councilor Lake, and of course our chair and vice chair all sat down with the mayor and his team to really iron out these final questions. And around the biggest budget item that we talked about last week was the $6 million allocation for Safe Move Tulsa. So through the meeting today, we came to a consensus that we all recognize that the projected costs for the next fiscal year are targeted to be $6 million with private funding to match, and that we're all committed to working at a pace over the next year to achieve that goal. But we're also going to work towards establishing a more standardized reporting for this good work that we know is so needed in the community. And we just really want to elevate to our community partners and to the providers doing this work every day that we are thankful and committed to the work, and we recognize what they're doing every day to achieve these goals as a collective. So I think it's a good compromise and a collaborative discussion that we ended up with after last week. So hopefully we'll see more of a quarterly reporting that's more standardized. We're going to do some work on our side to really set those expectations of what we want to see and how we want to see it come to the table. And then I think we got some commitments from staff to make that work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, Councilor Archie.
So I appreciate the update, because I was going to ask about that. So love the quarterly updates, just regularly what's happening, but the funding will be given in a way that it's just reliable, predictable for our partners to, so that Housing Solutions can make the contracts and all that. So
yes,
that
I regret that some interpretation was that we were requesting quarterly contracts, just to provide clarity. That's not what the city has requested. Just quarterly reports.
We just want quarterly reports so we can keep updated on this.
I don't know where
new
that came from or how it came to be in our emails with the same message from repeated folks. So whoever they got that information from, that's not what we requested. But we are going to hold an accountability and transparency measure of quarterly reports to make sure we're on pace and meeting benchmarks and outcomes, because this is a new program we're all creating together in a very large investment that we need to steward well.
Yeah, I support that. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Bellis.
Yeah, transparently, I had heard the quarterly reporting piece during last Wednesday's meeting. I was like, okay, that's my takeaway about what we're asking for. That makes sense. I know we all want to see certain data and indicators. And then when I was asking and learning more about the functionality and had asked internal council staff, it was mentioned that there would probably need to be amended contracts to go with that for the disbursements, which is like what was my first understanding, which led me to, just so you all know, led me to asking those nonprofits going, hey, what would that look like for you if that's, like, and I wasn't sure if that was with Housing Solutions, so I did start with Mark, who had that impression. That's who first alerted me, was hearing from Housing Solutions that may be necessary for how the dollars flow. And as someone with a nonprofit who has a lot of contracts and goes through really the ringer to get them updated, even with simple amendments, that had made me concerned just for the functionality for those nonprofits. So I had reached out, so I, wasn't trying to spark any type of chain of misinformation, but that was my initial impression, was that this would require quarterly amendments to contracts, which Sarah just confirmed with me stemming from the small budget meeting, that it could be more like a change order, and then that sounds like Housing Solutions should be able to do broad annual contracts, which is obviously a big relief.
Can you just explain it for everyone then, to have the same information?
So I think part of this has to do with, from the year the program started versus your fiscal year, right?
Right.
So the program didn't start July 1 last year, it started later in the year. So you did a year's worth of funds based on an estimate, right? Because it was our first time to do it. So currently, on the current contract, there are funds to kind of take people through September in housing people. And so if you do an additional 1.5 million, like we talked about, with working towards that goal of still doing 6 million in the second year of this program in next fiscal year, that should take you a couple of months into the year. So you're almost at mid-year on your spend rate. So then, as you do your quarterly reports, and it's another budget amendment comes, for the city's contract is with Housing Solutions as the sole source, as and just for the public, they're our continuum of care provider. And so then you just do a change order on that contract for Housing Solutions to increase the amount. So if you get to September and now it's estimated and additional funds for the next quarter are at 1.4 million, or they're at 2.7 million, then you have that estimate and you can do that change order, working towards that up to 6 million goal.
Which is very standard operating when we have contracts, so,
Yeah.
okay.
It just gives us the opportunity
Right,
to
to
release the
Yeah.
funds.
Right, which, definitely a fan of that mechanism. Yeah, my concern my concern had been if downstream it was creating work for some of these smaller entities, or again, sometimes you think it's just a simple amendment and then it turns out it's never that simple, or they could rack up legal fees. So that was really me wanting to ensure that we were, keeping the lift on like that collective impact, like Housing Solutions and ourselves, and not putting them onto the direct service providers. Or also acknowledging with like things like federal funding and stability, making sure that we weren't adding some layer of uncertainty to the providers themselves about, can we maintain staffing or things like that, which I know, and I really appreciate what Councilor Dr. Wright just said, going, we're committed to this work. And
But we're
let's see-
also
yeah.
taking fiscal responsibility to
Yeah.
steward the dollars and make
Yeah.
sure that outcomes are
Yeah.
matching with what we have
Yeah.
committed to doing.
There's no
Absolutely.
interference with
Yeah.
what the nonprofits are doing to assist, so.
Great, thank you all so much.
All right, I have Counselor Bush, then Counselor Hall Harper, and Counselor Lakin.
Yeah, as we set up the matrix for reporting out quarterly, I think we need to have some sort of better financial reporting of where the
Oh,
money's
yeah.
coming from and where it's going, what the return on the investment is. Because I gotta go back and sell this, and right now, it's not selling. The math's not mathing, and my constituents are not happy with this, because they're not seeing the return on that investment. So, I don't know, you mentioned some sort, I'm looking at you, because
Yeah.
you mentioned a committee of some sort.
All these folks were there.
I want to, make sure that we have that in. We do that in our business investments, with all of us, we do it
Yep.
with our private businesses, and it's got to be done here.
We did emphasize that there are very skilled civil servants that know how to do dashboards and reporting that makes sense and that is very transparent, and we strongly emphasize that those people need to be providing the reporting.
Yes.
So I don't know if any of y'all want to speak more to it.
Oh, yeah, I can now, or I can
Yeah,
wait.
well,
You want me to
let's,
talk about it?
Yeah.
Since it's germane?
sure. Are you okay with that?
We're
Okay.
in discussion.
Well, I was asking
that's gonna be
Counselor
because I
Hall
was
Harper.
next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And she
No, I
was
thought she was
next.
pointing to
Go
me.
ahead, you may answer my question, so.
Oh, I think what we talked about was just having a standard rhythm for these next 4 quarters. On day 45, just as an example, we get this kind of report, and the executive branch gets it, then we get to discuss it, then the committee reports out, and then just standardizing what we see up on the screen too. We have just different presentations made to us, and they don't necessarily blend together with what we saw the previous time. So if we just, this report is what you saw last time, this is how it's changed from last time. These are the numbers, these are the returns, these are the outcomes, then I think we'll all be
This
far
is the
better off
benchmark we
in,
met.
in
This-
being able to measure
if we
it and
didn't
being
meet
able
it-
to communicate that to our constituents as well.
Yeah, and I want to make sure the maths, because we've had presentations
Yeah.
where slide A and slide B is
It's real vague.
and off.
Yeah, not
It's like,
matching.
okay, I'm not that smart in math, but 1 and 1 doesn't equal 4,
What?
so.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
All right, are you done
I'm done
for now? Okay.
for now.
Counselor Hall Harper?
So in addition to that, I love the process of making sure we can clearly see difference from a format, right?
Right.
Or an infrastructure of reporting so we can see and track. That's great. The only other thing I would like to add is when we, the council receive those quarterly reports, can we put on the agenda, our 5 o'clock agenda, an opportunity for citizens to come and give public comment or questions? Because we get questions from people in the community about things they're seeing in their neighborhoods. And we may or may not see those. And so just an opportunity for the citizens to be able
Would
to
that go under like 4A? maybe?
engage.
It's kind of like an STOC.
At the same time.
Yeah, on the day where we discussed it, then,
The quarterly as well. So they
Yeah.
can come in and just
Would
talk
you-
about it.
mayor's
Do you want
items.
us to look at options too to, like if a community needs extra question and answer time, so they're not limited by the timer, like even outside events or things like that too? Like if you all know you've got a neighborhood that's got a lot of questions, rather than asking the whole neighborhood to come down, we could arrange 2 for people to ask. So just let us know who those people are, so that we can go also out to.
However it's
Yeah.
worked out, I just want
Okay.
the community to be able to have a voice,
Yeah.
not just them, administration talking to council,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
incorporating.
So yeah, I've got financial reporting and ROI, and then community
great
input
idea.
on outcomes and questions. Okay.
Yeah. All right, Counselor Lakin, do you have anything else you want to say?
I would just say, we talked about looking at what other communities are producing right now to see if we can find reports that we like and tend to provide the kinds of information that we need so that we can replicate those rather than creating them. So there's probably something out there.
I'm sure there's a time.
Not guaranteed necessarily because we're a little bit different in the way that we've designed this program, but Clutch may have some information, for example, that they could share with us as to what other communities are using.
Yeah,
So we'll get something that's.
communities our size, not like
course.
what Houston is doing. I
Or
mean,
Pittsburgh.
yeah, yeah. So what would
Yeah,
work
our
here?
goal is to get standardized reporting that shows outcomes, metrics, financials, et cetera.
Counselor Dr. Wright?
yes. The other thing that we did elevate was as the work continues, and we recognize new program, we're building it out, we need to be informed early and often on decommissioning or a new initiative. Like, we cannot learn about these things in press releases or through the media. And we just emphasize that again, that communication is key so that we can move together and have a deep understanding so that when constituents contact us, we're not in the dark about what they're asking about.
I don't like saying, I have no idea what you're
Right,
talking about.
right.
Right.
So,
Every day.
in our, in our form of
idea.
government, we're not, we don't have contracting authority, so we're exercising the authority over fiscal management and oversight on this and other things as well. So I agree.
All right, Counselor Dutton?
Yeah, I want to amplify what Counselor Bush and Counselor Dr. Wright said, as well as Counselor Vanessa Hall Harper. And that I think if we get regular updates for these decommissionings that are happening, more than just a phone call or an advance notice of, 10 hours or something before it occurs, I think it would be helpful for the community as well. Because I do hear a lot from my constituents on the situation that seems perceived to be increasing in District 3. And I think if I can also offer them some information going forward, I think that would be really helpful to keep the program up and going.
Counselor Bingle?
Yeah, so obviously it's like building a ship where we've laid the keel, now we're having to build the rest of the boat around it, so we're still not,
Aye, aye, Captain.
and I'm not even doing Army, wasn't even in the Navy.
There's so many,
I'm curious as to where this metaphor is
Yeah.
going.
So,
I'm
I
just
think.
so into the boat metaphor thing.
You know?
Oars in the
Because,
water.
oh my gosh, guys, move on. I moved on. So,
Aye, aye.
That ship is already sailed.
yeah, exactly. So, obviously, communication is the key. Don't keep it going, Lincoln, I saw that. So that's one of the things that we talked about, and as, you know, the other counselors talked about, you know, looking at different organizations, how they're reporting this stuff, and being scrutinizing how we're using these funds. Notwithstanding the previous funding mechanisms that we were using, we're now using general fund dollars wholly in this work, and so we have to be more transparent, and people wanna know how that money is being spent, how impactful we're being in that investment. So hopefully, in the building of this boat, we can finally create a mature system, and going through this at the initial outset and having these quarterly reportings that will allow us, if we potentially have to scale up funding, we're not going to have to go through this exercise as frequently. At least that's my hope.
Very well said, Captain.
Aye, aye.
No more cracker jokes.
And I know, we also talked about not just having housing solutions and Emily at these updates, but also bringing in those nonprofits that are doing the work, just to see exactly, so that we all have a better understanding of the work that's being done out there, so. Counselor Dector Wright, are you done, Counselor, or Captain Bingle?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right. Okay, Counselor Dector Wright, and
Should've
then
called her a swabby.
Counselor Bellis.
The other thing I just wanted to remind us all of was not just the quarterly reporting and changing the format, but also to add that prevention language, so that that's also captured in what we're voting on today. Oh, Sarah came to the table to
Yeah.
She's moved that to a talking position.
expound on
Yeah,
that.
I moved in, could you tell I wanted to say something? So,
You moved chairs.
this is just an updated technical change memo that reflects, the conversation of the quarterly reporting. So I think you all have covered that well. Do you need more? Yeah. And so the other change on the technical change memo, is related to the trail safety enforcement. So you'll see that at the top.
Yeah, we can share.
It's okay.
Here you
I have
go.
it
You'll see
memorized.
that at the top under police, that $60,000, that is added and that we talked about last time at committee. And then the other change isn't gonna be on the technical change memo because it was just expanding that language on the Brown ordinance, which is also on your agenda today. And so it just adds the word homelessness, but adds and prevention. So as you continue to develop your programs for prevention that maybe either came out of the Eviction Coalition or other initiatives that you all have worked on in the past regarding the sprint and things, then that bucket could be available in the future for those dollars. And I think that is it on the changes. Everything else on the memo should be as it was last week.
Thank you.
I do think maybe the font is a bit bigger.
It's on legal size.
Yes, as requested.
Much easier on old eyes.
Yes.
Shoot, I give you my pen.
So we did mention, we did talk about the deputy director of the emergency management, also getting reports from the new manager on how things are going?
Right, so, so last week we talked about, the budget would be as proposed in FY '27 for emergency management, and fund, that was your intention to fund that. But then once the new director comes in, have them come and explain the scope of services, cause it does sound like the scope is a little bit different than when, we had a combined system. What they will emphasize, in their new role, what our gaps are, and then what is their plan to staff that, or contract that, or whatever their financial needs are to carry out their mission, under that model. So our hope is that you have that before you have to get into budget discussions, in FY '28.
Counselor Victor Wright?
I'm very concerned about this, and I think I made myself abundantly clear what my concerns are. Engaging the public, I'm getting concerns from them as well because they weren't fully aware. You know, we had an announcement in October that this thing was happening, but I went back and looked, and the only dollars mentioned were $85,000 to $95,000 that the county would invest to replace that director position. In the reporting and the memos and press releases, there was nothing about what the cost to the city would be. So I just want to amplify that. For me, the first time I was aware of cost was when we got the budget. And then on May 13th, we had the discussion with the commissioner initially. May 21st, there was some letters sent that we got resent to us on Monday. And then the discussion we had. So while I appreciate that once we hire somebody to come tell us how the service delivery is going to be different, better, more intensive, I have a lot of heartburn about a 61.5% increase to create a thing that in large part seems very duplicative. Having been on this council with Councilor Hall Harper and Councilor Lakin through the historic floods, through tornadoes, through a pandemic, through a derecho, through other tornadoes, with some of you more recently.
What was that last name?
Derecho, the straight line winds over
Oh.
She
Juneteenth,
just
Father's
made
Day
that
storm in
up.
2023.
Yeah.
The 100-mile-an-hour winds.
Wiped out.
It's a new
I think it's called a
flavor for
derecho. I don't know if I said
Doritos.
Derecho.
No,
In the 8 years I have served, we have dealt with a lot of natural disasters. We've dealt with a cyber attack, and we had all eyes on us during a commemoration that involved FBI surveilling and making sure that certain folks in our community are safe because there were threats. We've had a presidential visit. We've had a lot of need for a coordinated emergency response. And in my assessment, which is just as a citizen really, I had never heard that something was missing or that we didn't get what we needed. I have heard in the last 8 months that sirens aren't sounding at the right time or at all. We've heard why that is, but I'm just saying the perception is we are trying to create something new that is being perceived as not as good at a much bigger price tag. Also, as we talk about a $1.22 billion budget, it is very easy for us to sit here and go, well, $200,000 is minimal when you think about $1.22 billion. But when you think about community partners who are trying to find $3 a day so kids can swim in the park pool that we all invested in, or that are trying to provide evening and weekend activities for teenagers this summer so they're not where they're not supposed to be. And they are doing that work on $50,000 or $60,000 or $75,000 a year. That $200,000 a year starts to seem meaningful. So I feel like the vote today means we're just not going back to the table with the county. We're gonna create our own thing, and it's going to have accelerated costs, and I'm deeply uncomfortable with that, especially the way it was rolled out to us and the public. It's not, you know, Commissioner Roberts is tasked with keeping us safe, and she's taken this on because a decision was made. For future for us, when decisions like this are made, we definitely need to ask immediately what is the cost outcome of this decision. I regret that in November or October when we heard about it, I didn't ask that question. I read in the paper $85,000 to $95,000 for a position, which I actually thought was quite affordable and maybe too low for what we're asking of somebody to be in charge of all of this. And I don't know what the market rate is for a certified emergency manager. Clearly in our budget, we're coming in at a much higher dollar amount to attract and retain a professional. So This is, of everything that's been proposed in the budget, this is the one that's causing me the most pause, especially as several of us up here have advocated for other reforms around public safety and have been told that we don't have the dollars to do it. That Good Sam at $140,000 a year is outside of what we can deliver. Some of these things that we have elevated with the previous administration and carried forward into this administration. $200,000 in the grand scope of $1.22 billion is nominal, but is impactful when we talk about $20,000 to help Main Street or $70,000 to get an x-ray machine at Animal Welfare. And those are amendments that we've made on the day of the budget vote. So I just would be remiss if I did not speak to it here today.
Counselor Bellis?
I was initially in the queue, but Sarah answered what I was gonna ask, but I do wanna follow up on that, because I'm glad you surfaced it. I've been really concerned by, like, what I've perceived as change without change management, or at least what's been presented to us. I don't think we really heard, like, the clear examples of what the shortcomings were of the prior model. That I just feel really unclear about that, and I know we all wanna know that decisions are, data-driven and make financial sense. And I think what's hard is during what's clearly a transition period, and this is where I wish I understood the change management plan better, aligned with the dollars, like, I at least, we, prior to the change, used to get these very regular updates in our inboxes that we could communicate with constituents about, data from National Weather Service, what's going on, what to expect. And there was quite a lapse in us receiving that information for a stretch of time, which that's what makes me most curious in that change management process. And so then it is hard to see that then post that split without having clear, here's the data that drove this decision, which I know we've asked for, but we haven't really seen that case laid out, then seeing the additional cost is really challenging. And so I wanna elevate what you're saying, cause I share those concerns. I understand that there's been that argument we've heard about, hey, like, this isn't it's not atypical for city and counties to have separate models, but at the same time, I still don't know what the example is of, hey, here's this consistent data-informed issue that drove this decision, and then taking on that additional cost when we could be still cost-sharing like we had been is troubling to me, so I'm glad you surfaced that.
I just don't know what the
But-
answer is,
But at
because
this point,
the
decision
agreement's already been
happened.
sunset.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those, we're over a year downstream of a call having been made without a lot of, again, change management, communication, clear case being laid out. And I think at that time, I didn't even know when that decision was made that there were budget implications in the way that there have been.
Exactly.
And so I think that's the other hard part, is we're getting really lagging information related to those budget implications.
All right, Counselor Bengal and then Lakin.
Yeah, so when I found out about this, I think we were on the inner city to Salt Lake, if I remember correctly. And then we're hearing about what the cost impacts are going to be much later. And so, yeah, just like Counselor Dr. Wright said, I didn't hear that this was gonna be an increase or that we were gonna stand this up until the budget came out and it was gonna be as much more expensive as it was. I said this 100 times, I don't care what Oklahoma City is doing, and I don't care what anybody else thinks at this table if they disagree with me. I don't care what somebody else is doing. If our partnerships work, you don't dissolve it just because whomever at some national organization or whatever says this is best practice. At least articulate, and if there's financial impacts to the budget, we're responsible for figuring out where those fundings come from and how we pay for it. Just this small $60,000 that we're talking about dealing with the River Parks issue. And we had to figure out where to come pay for that. This far exceeds that. So I have an issue where people make decisions that we have to figure out the budget for, and we're not part of that discussion, because I still have not heard a rationalization. I don't care about a letter from a national organization, and I don't care what other communities are doing. As you said, I haven't heard of any needs not being met. So I stand with you 100% in what you said, and that's why I supported you when you did make that Facebook post, because I still cannot wrap my head around why we did this.
But what are our options aside of just
we might not have any, we have
That's,
emergency.
I still haven't
That's
heard
why
what
I
our
said, I
options
feel like
are.
we were handcuffed without
Ask
inclusion of
internally,
discussion.
I did ask internally if we only came to the table with 163, which is what we've been funding, what does that do? Does that make us go back to the county and try to reinstitute an agreement?
Or-
Do we have that option? I know Counselor Lakin, last week I said we have no options, and you said we always have options to restart the conversation.
Or can I get a clarifying question related to that 163? If that's what's been allocated to it right now, and we've been separate for the past how long? What has that been
But we
funding or
have an,
not
we
funding?
have an interim emergency manager and Commissioner Roberts. She's not
Yeah.
a certified
Okay, that's
emergency
the difference.
manager.
Is the difference just the person being full-time, which also?
Well, it's a certified person,
It's a new
Right.
person.
yeah.
Okay, that's the
And
low
the,
dollar
and the
amount.
truck and the equipment and all that other
There's,
stuff.
there's a lot of certifications that city employees get for that.
Yes.
That's why I'm just wondering if for the past
think
however many
Sarah's
months
certified.
since the split happened, we've just had reduced capacity
What
and
was
now
that,
we're trying to
Sarah?
get back up to full
I don't
capacity.
know, but has any, I'm gonna put you on the spot, Counselor Lakin, and you can say no. Has anyone just reached out to the commissioners and said, is there an opening to
haven't.
have a conversation? I know, cause you're not we don't have contract authority, but I know you have relationships, so. I
I've
just
said
don't-
something about it.
You have?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have.
I just don't know if it's like, can we get back to the table,
That,
cause we
at
need.
that same conversation where I got that 9740, I had a conversation with Commissioner Salee, and I said, I really want to understand how this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because who made this decision? I don't care about a letter, but was there something that we can articulate to our citizens? And when we're talking about duplicative costs, can we articulate why we've created this separation? Is there a policy difference? Because I haven't heard any.
What letter are you referring to?
It was a state
There
Was it a state?
letter that was
Emergency
sent.
manager
Okay,
that
that's
said-
right. I said national.
I'm writing this
So I
letter in
misspoke.
support of this decision. That was May 21st,
Mm-hmm.
long after the decision was made. So I think it was made to back up,
It's sent over.
yeah, the assertion that go ahead and fund these things, is what it felt like. Because we
I
weren't
think when-
discussing dollars till
In the
May.
2 years we've had budget discussions, we had to figure out whether we were gonna fund Freedom Fest last year.
Right.
And then also the early settlement program. And those
Right.
were $50,000
Yeah.
line
Discussion.
budget line items. So this just feels willy-nilly to me. I'm not happy about it, and I'm gonna stand behind you 100%.
I just don't know what our
Well,
options
so what
are.
are our
I don't
Yeah,
know that we
would be-
have any.
Do we have
Do we
any
need to
options?
stand up a whole office, or can we have an interim and negotiate back to a collaboration? I just don't even know
Sarah, do you have any
what our
input?
options are.
Not to put you on the spot.
I think at this point, you're pretty far down the road
Yeah.
on a split, so I think if there was something that came back together, that would take some time. So even if it took some time, you still need a solution for next year.
Yeah.
Which is going to require funding a solution for next year.
Expensive.
I think that on the the change you have made is an FY 28, on your sheet, so it's about halfway down on this front page.
Jan.
Where you've taken off $120,000, just above $120,000 until you can get a better picture
And that's for additional
of what is
staffing.
going on.
Yeah.
And so, the position is a higher level position, the projected classification is. And so, I don't know what that person needs. Do they need a deputy director in the same way that they did before? Do they need different personnel? Until that office starts and is set up, I think that's why you made the decision to ask those questions.
Counselor Dr., well, do you have a question for, you're still on this item?
Yeah, so going back to personnel, it will be a civil service protected position,
That's how it's in the budget, is
correct?
at a civil
Which
service
gives us
position.
even less options. It's not
Yeah.
highly.
Yeah.
I just wonder, can we not hire an interim emergency manager on a contract basis? And then either,
And then be able to revisit over the course of the
to
year.
Counselor Bellis's
Yeah.
point,
Right.
we've been doing a thing to date. We already have a staff member that was hired or moved into that position to help with the communication side, which I agree is better, but not to the level of what we used to receive under TAMA. I think I heard that if there were a disaster today, TAMA is going to come and work with us on mitigating it for the region and for all of us. I don't think I misheard that before. So I'm just wondering if we're not backed into the corner that we all feel like we are, and if we could allocate the 163 for a contract basis coverage, maybe we're contracting the tame a guy until we can really put a project plan in place and flesh out why this is so necessary, or
Or talk to the county and
Or
that.
go
or
back
go
to
back
the
to the
county.
county. We have to have strategic conversations with the county about jail and some other things.
I
So-
think we need to,
I worry about the perception that we're isolating ourselves. And even if there are policy disagreements or personality conflicts, which, you know, we got there on the juvenile justice low barrier shelter. For a time, we got a letter from the people that wanted to do it saying, thanks for trying, it looks like it's not gonna work out.
Right.
And then we turned the corner. So we've just got to figure these things out so that the dollars go as far as they can go and deliver the highest service that it can deliver. And right now, I'm hearing, there's a little bit of like, we have no option. I'm wondering if we do have options, can we do it on, we've already said for fiscal '28, we're not automatically gonna trigger, but this does come with like buying a vehicle, buying equipment, standing up an office. And I just have big concerns about service delivery. I still have unanswered questions about who will be responsible for testing the equipment, for keeping it maintained. Y'all, we don't do a good job maintaining our stuff.
we don't.
Where are the dollars to do it? I don't know. Is it in this? Does it come from something else? Or is that a shared resource with our nearby community partners? I just don't know enough about it to feel like I'm making a super informed decision. So I don't know what options we have. I hear from her, which I do respect, that like we're too far into it, we've just gotta
At
go.
the end of the day, decisions, hiring decisions and contracting decisions are decisions of the administration and our form of government. So, you know, that's a key component that's missing as a partner in this conversation. And so, I think, you know, it's probably, well, and, you know, the specific member of that partnership isn't here. So, I don't wanna like say, call somebody on the spot for an area they're not over. So, that is something that has to be worked out in that way, and the council's role is to advise, and make recommendations on administrative practices, and then the administration can choose to hire or choose to contract, and do those things, and I'm sure, like they hear today, that if you are want to be a partner in helping with those conversations, then you've said that and you're here.
Could it be from a budget
Hold on a
perspective?
second.
Oh,
Hold on.
sorry.
I've got other
From,
people that are.
from a budgetary perspective, you appropriate dollars to funds. So
Right.
the personnel services, materials, supplies, and the contracting bucket, you can appropriate, but there is still space that, you know, if at the end of the day they want to hire someone, or assign someone that function that's currently employed, you know, that's an administrative decision.
Mr. Miller, would you have anything that you want to add to this from the administration?
But I tried to
I know.
I mean, I think Commissioner Roberts told us her perspective because she's been charged and tasked with doing a thing.
well, I don't understand. It's just- I know.
I got you.
Okay, so just because of what she said.
Yeah.
I did have that conversation with Commissioner Roberts.
Okay.
And it was her recommendation that we do this.
Of course. She recommended it to the full table. And we got letters of support on Monday.
Monday. Yep. Hi, Mr. Miller.
Hello.
Hello.
I do appreciate what Sarah said earlier, and so any contribution I might have to this conversation is limited to my scope, so I just want to be clear on that, but I could answer any specific, I'll try to answer any specific questions that you may have.
So, so I'm hearing a lot of questions about how did we get to this point? So what triggered us leaving the county to start up our own?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the mayor sent some information around earlier this week. I think it was relatively comprehensive. He sent to each of you. Commissioner Sims and the mayor had a conversation last year, and both of them agreed that it was a good thing to do, to split and to have complementary but separate organizations, and that's the path that they've been pursuing since.
Counselor Bengal, did you have anything else that you wanted to?
No.
Oh, I would stay seated. Counselor Lakin, I have you on.
Yeah, it's frustrating that we've been to so many places where we've learned how beneficial it is when city and county governments cooperate. Work together, co-manage programs, end up saving money, and end up many times with a better product. So I'm not blaming this on the city, I'm not blaming it on the county, but when one party leaves a partnership, it's kind of hard to do anything but stand up a program of our own, because we do have to provide that service, which is exactly what we're doing now. We have no options, we have to provide the service, and I want us to provide the very best service. So I hesitate on cutting anything, not cutting,
Yeah.
or delaying,
Yeah.
or, because I want our citizens to have the very best services. But I still want to get back together, you know? But I want to get back together.
We're
on-
just talking, you're saying we're on a
Yeah.
break.
Yeah,
Friends are
right.
friends.
Friends break.
We're separating our
But
finances
I feel
for
the same
now.
way about the jail deal, I feel the same thing about the 911 center,
Yes.
you know, I mean, there are just these things where it's like, why? Why can't parks, why can't we get together and just date for a while and then, go a little further? And just,
That's a terrible analogy.
just create an ongoing partnership.
So back to the boat.
Says the captain.
So that we can save resources for the people we both are
Serve.
created to serve. And we're serving a majority of Tulsa County citizens. So I think, we have to, right?
85% of the
Yep.
county population's in the city of Tulsa.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I don't know where to go with this. I heard Sarah, I know what the contracting authority is with the mayor. My hope would be that we can move forward, stand up the very best, go talk to the county commissioners about this and other things that we need to talk to them about. And just ask the administration be as nimble as possible, so that if we had to make any changes, that we could make those changes more easily. Like, if we did decide to get back together, how would we best accommodate that transition, so that our people and our equipment that we're buying or hiring can be assimilated into a broader cooperative system?
And I think we need to understand better what our ongoing obligations, it's not just a vehicle, computers, and personnel. We have sirens now, like, who's maintaining them? I just don't understand fully.
We have some of that contracted. I know that the
Already.
issue that we had when the nuclear warning went off was not related to us.
Right. But that
Related to
contracts
third
with the
parties.
city or with the county?
As I understand it, contracts with the city, but I
And
don't
the
know. I haven't
vendor
seen the
maintains
contracts.
the sirens and all of that.
Test them,
Test them, but also repairs or
and
replaces.
sometimes can test them internally, and sometimes test them externally
Yes.
without knowing.
Got it.
Yeah.
But is that a shared cost with that?
I mean,
How
my
would we
community
know?
borders Bixby and Broken Arrow.
Yeah,
Is it on the city of Tulsa side, a siren that
Right.
people hear, or is it on the Bixby side? I have no idea. When it was under the county, it didn't probably matter materially as much. So those are the
But-
questions I have.
The good thing is that I think the way that we react and act and trigger and all that other
Sure.
stuff is prescribed. It really doesn't matter if you're county or city. It's, this is the federal standard, you do this when this happens.
And there's the tracking
So,
for
we just have
federal
to-
reimbursement as well.
Right, we just have to make sure that we have some people who are qualified doing those
Right.
things that the
And there's
federal
thresholds you
government
have,
mandates.
there's also thresholds you have to meet in order to qualify for federal, and are we diminishing our
ability.
eligibility
Yeah.
by being on our own? These are just, I don't know enough about it to know, but I need people who do know about it to let us know. Sounds
think-
like we have to stand up and
I
do
think the
this.
unfortunate outcome of any of these separations is that we spend more money doing the same thing that we were doing.
Yep.
Both sides.
Hopefully as well.
Both entities.
I mean, hopefully as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I liked your comment of, in the meantime, we continue having those discussions with the county to,
Yeah.
But we,
work
I mean, we
together
can,
more.
but we ultimately, to Sarah's point, do not have the authority to move forward.
I know. But
Yeah. But
It'll be a budget increase next year, by the way. It will be a budget increase,
I can imagine it won't be.
because this isn't covering all the things
That's right.
to stand up an agency.
Well, yeah, can we, maybe, so that we can get, I mean, I know that we're doing the budget, I mean, we're voting this evening, but can we, can we put on an agenda, as an agenda item to have Commissioner Roberts back at the table to answer these questions? But I'm gonna pull a Counselor Henderson, that if she is listening right now, and if she wants to come down and give us that information right now, that would be great.
I would be happy to relinquish my seat to her.
So, okay, are you done, Counselor Lakin?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I have Counselor Archie, Dutton, and then Counselor Bellis.
So this is maybe me taking like 3 or 4 steps back and looking a little bit more broadly. I think a lot of the frustration that I'm hearing, and maybe that I'm feeling in my own heart, is one of disrespect. Is it the case that if there's a seismic change that needs to happen, like, are we gonna break apart that, the management systems, that will have a budgetary impact? Does, the mayor feel like before that decision is made, consultation or collaboration with the council should happen? Or does obviously, elections, he was elected, there's a structure that we have, and he has the prerogative to, or she has the prerogative to enter into those contracts, and they'll come along because, they need to come along. We obviously need to provide, safety for our folks. I think maybe I would love to hear an assurance that moving forward, if there are things like this that they think that he believes and the administration believes would have these fiscal impacts, and maybe it doesn't, it could be at the table or in private conversations or whatever, being looped in a little bit earlier to receive that feedback or understand, because as I'm looking, I think we're kind of over, we're backed into a corner, and I don't want residents to feel unsafe. Obviously, we, need emergency management. I think maybe the concern that I've had like 4 calls, some from former folks at the county who live in my district, were very angry about the decision. And I said, well, I'm listening to both sides and trying to make sense of it, and I don't have, like Councilor Bangle was saying, I don't have all the answers as far as why it happened. Boiling it all down, I think moving forward, I'd love to be assured that the mayor will take the council into consideration with these sort of large decisions that have these implications, separate and apart from this particular instance. Is this a decision that sort of highlights a pattern of how it's gonna kind of be for the next little while, or is this, you kind of get what I'm saying?
So yes, I do, and not to be flippant, but I can't address how the mayor's feeling.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how you ask, and I think that's a good conversation to have. I do think, me sitting in this chair right now, I'm here to be able to talk about the budget and how the impacts are, and you've also addressed that. What I would say is that as far as timeliness, it was discussed publicly again 8, 9 months ago, whatever it was, well before the start of this year. It was submitted as part of the budget proposal 6, 8 weeks ago, and so we've had time to have some of these discussions. It was presented with the budget as the whole budget is presented, and so.
It's a big budget.
Yeah, it was as part of the budget, when the budget was developed, and it was developed in a timely fashion to line up with the fiscal year, and it was presented to the council, and we've had discussions with Councilor Roberts at the table as part of this budget process. And so I think she'll be available to continue answering those specific questions. I do feel like there has been timely presentation of this with the budget, and an opportunity for the discussion that we're having today and have had on previous council days.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I appreciate the answer. In our next one-on-one, I'll talk with them about it.
Sure. Counselor Dutton and then Counselor Bellis.
Yeah, I just have a statement that Tama was also very important in our winter sheltering needs for our sheltered community and making sure that we didn't have any deaths due to the elements in the wintertime, right, providing equipment and whatnot for our winter shelters. And I just want to say that this is also going to increase our budgetary needs going forward. And I think taxpayers are deserving of specific answers and transparency.
That's it. Okay. Counselor Bellis.
Yeah, I'll do one follow-up and then pitching an idea to my council colleagues. I do want to voice, like, I definitely value, of course, that all of these budget protocols have been had and that, you know, we did have Commissioner Roberts spend time with us. I just think what's challenging is, and I'm not faulting her for this, she has a lot under her umbrella, but it's really hard to hear such a big, systemic change that we're doing, which without having like literally tangible pieces of papers about like timeline, process, data. It's just, I think we've all asked a lot of questions and we haven't really heard full, clear answers where there's like hard numbers and data that go with that for decisions being made, or how, again, that like a change management process happened, which I'm sure there was on the back end. Like, I know we have really skilled city employees, we just haven't learned that, so I know it makes it hard for us to then make budget allocation decisions. I understand that, this is absolutely a non-negotiable service. I don't know if there's something we could look at doing over, the next year, just to kind of understand and, that county partnership. One of the things I was gonna see if my colleagues may be interested in, and in advance council staff is gonna be like, oh, that's a pain, but I'm almost wondering, I think Councilor Lakin had mentioned all these different ways that we partner with the county, and it sounds like there's just a need for a broader conversation. I'm wondering if maybe, we do those legislative forums where we do a publicly posted meeting with legislative partners, and we've had county folks at the table before. I wonder if there's a specific, like, I know it's hard with the county, where 3 of them is a quorum, so I'm wondering if we need to do maybe a shared publicly posted meeting. Yeah,
Two.
okay, 2.
You said 3, there's only.
Oh, 2, that's what I meant, sorry, yes. 2 is a quorum, so you can't get them in a group. So I will voice that I think one of the only ways for us to sort through and just have a cohesive, shared, collaborative discussion across an array of, I know we've talked about animal welfare collaboration before, we've talked about, I know on the public record, we can only get so much into certain nitty-gritty about if there's just negotiations or this or that, and I know there's contract stuff separately, but knowing all the different ways that there's partnership across public safety and so much else with the county, I do think that maybe doing like a shared publicly posted meeting to get to at least talk through what existing partnerships look like and what could be kind of just, available in the future where there's opportunities could be really powerful if we're just kind of forward looking with that. So that way we can think about how we can really best coordinate, align dollars and so much else. So if I'm just proposing it to my council colleagues.
We tried doing that a couple months ago, but scheduling just did
Was hard.
not work out.
So we could do it for the
So-
next cycle?
It was a challenge.
It was a
Continue
challenge.
to attempt to schedule.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
several
think that,
times.
just the
I know it's
timeline
really
of,
hard.
of maybe all this, I think there are conversations about working with county.
Yeah.
And so just the time of this decision, this was made back in, I think, September, I mean, it was several months ago when all this started. Versus, just being conversations yesterday about work we can collaborate with on the county. I think we're in there's time has passed and I think doors are open for communication, so.
Very well said. Thank you, Sarah. All right, any other questions, concerns on this amended budget?
Not a question, just a comment. So this is item 7A. Are we planning to take it in order today, or will we bring it to the top of the agenda?
we just keep it as is.
Okay, and so the public, if they do want to comment, we did have public hearings, but this
Right.
will be the final opportunity for
Right.
anyone
To
who
come
wants
and
to
speak.
come and speak, to sign up on item 7A, or any of the other items, to be heard. Because
Right.
I think, as we have had these conversations and taken to our own platforms to amplify concerns, more people are aware. I see media in the room for the first time that has not necessarily been here paying attention to the nitty gritty in ways. So I imagine more people may want to come on down. So just wanted to make sure that we're not gonna move it up higher in the agenda, which sometimes we do on bigger votes.
Right.
Okay,
Yep, we'll keep it as is.
as is 7A.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, then we will move on to item number 5, ordinance authorizing the mayor to transfer any unexpended and unencumbered appropriations of $100,000 or less from one account to another within the same department of the city with certain expectations. This expires July 31st.
Just a procedural on this agenda. We have already talked about the remaining of these items, but because we just pushed the budget vote back, these items came with it. So unless there's any specific questions on the remainder of the agenda.
Do you want me to read 6 real quick?
Well, I don't think you even legally have to
Oh.
unless there's questions, so.
Okay.
Not a question, just again, last week we asked if we could put some reporting specifics in, so I hope that you saw in the
Yes.
backup that that is
That was
now
added.
codified in there, in the updated ordinance. So thanks to Jack and Sarah for making that happen.
Yeah, thank you. All right, anybody else have any questions, concerns?
No.
Going.
I did want to say something.
Counselor Dr. Wright?
Thank you. We have collectively at this table more than, I think, 30 years' experience in budgeting for the city, if not 40, with the outsized influence of one historic counselor in service.
She called you prehistoric.
Called you out.
No. We've had
Golden
peop-
Jubilee.
We've had
Say it
people,
louder.
we've had people leave and come back, so there's 10 years here, there's 10 years here, there's 8 years here. Is it 12 or something? And then, of course, our staff.
More than that.
And for the last 2 budgets, it's been historic, over $1 billion budgets. When I first came as a new counselor with then Chair Lakin, we were making cuts to a budget. We were making furloughs during a pandemic. And so as we move forward and get this passed and start, getting ready for our next budget retreat, whoever is coming back in December, I think it's really important how we talk about it with the public, the auditors sharing feedback with each of us about community. My community specifically said they don't feel well informed on the budget. So I'm making a commitment to try to do more, and I hope everyone will too. And I know that they're trying to do a public data dashboard now that I think will help. I think us on tulsacouncil.org/budget have been doing more. But it's very difficult, even for those of us who have been doing it a long time, and for those of you who are maybe on your second or first time doing it. So I think it's really important that even though a budget retreat may happen after the new year, that we stay in dialogue around these things. And amplify processes, because I think there are some expectations from public that we would have say over contracting, let's say. Or that we could hold dollars back and make a thing happen. So I just wanted to thank the leadership of our chairwoman and our vice chair, who I know you guys have regular meetings separately from us on our behalf on policy and everything else. And then the added time that you put in on the small budget with Counselor Lakin and myself. And for the rest of you, I know it's frustrating because I've been on the side that you have where you're not in those small budget meetings. And it's hard to just get snatches of information. So I just hope collectively we can refine the process. I know Counselor Bush has managed much more public funding in a different elected role, and I know it's been frustrating for you.
It's been, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It was a terrible process.
I know. And I don't know how, I'm just saying, we know that we can commit to doing it better.
Just being honest.
I like how you're like,
Hold
"Yeah,
on.
I'm not doing it again.
Yes, but I just wanna say, I appreciate within the framework that we have, the amount of time that our chairwoman
Yeah, it's a lot.
and our vice
yeah.
chair have put in, our staff.
Huge amounts of time.
You know, a huge amount of time. I don't think people outside always know how much our staff is doing to just get us the information
I
we
agree.
need so that we make the most informed decision with the best information at the time. When we get new information, sometimes we make a different decision. And we're doing the best we can, but I do hope the public stays engaged. I hope next year when we have public hearings, people come and speak to these things because we've done a better job outlining the process for them. So I just wanted to say that, because I know we're all gonna be like, "Phew, the budget's done, on to the next," and we'll be
It's never
thinking
done.
about it
It's
in
never done.
January. So, it's a big budget, it's historic, and I think we've got a lot of good baked in here. And there's a lot more work that we do need to do, and the economy is the economy, so next year it might not be another historic
Right.
budget.
Well,
Yeah.
Counselor Bingle?
And obviously, during our Mayo Council retreat, we made that commitment to kind of scrutinize this budget. So
Have to.
I think we've done a good job
Right,
this year.
yeah,
Can
Sure agree.
follow up with that?
yeah,
Do you
sure,
mind?
Counselor Bush.
I wasn't trying to call you out.
No, I mean, we just talked about it with the homeless budget or the safe move or whatever it is. With the quarterly reports and the return on the investments, we can be better stewards in this current system. Besides these PowerPoint presentations, I mean, we need to have these budget conversations going
Ongoing.
Yes, and fiscal
ongoing,
impact.
and fiscal
of
impact.
decisions.
And, okay, PowerPoints are all nice and lovely, but we need more
Yeah, just apples to apples numbers.
apples to
yeah.
apples numbers going forward, and that starts July 1. Just because we're going to approve a budget tonight, I think we need to go in and put those processes in place. And that's not a criticism of staff at all, it's the process that is
The framework.
dysfunctional. Yes,
So,
it's not the
Sarah,
work.
Yeah.
um,
I'm confident that we're on the right path to
Yep.
start that process.
Yeah.
So even
yeah,
in that little 10-minute break, we worked on that process between this morning meeting and this one,
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
I think the expectations are quite clear, and we're gonna hold ourselves to
Right.
account as well.
So this isn't the last 1 o'clock meeting that we're gonna have until the next
Right.
budget proposal. It will be an ongoing, as just a quarterly or however we schedule it, just to, so that all of us and the viewers at home or at work, wherever, can follow along with those reports. So,
Thank you.
I think constituents will appreciate our involvement and be able to feel confident
it's our
in their
responsibility.
representation.
right,
Yeah.
yep,
That's not that easy, and not full-time, so.
right.
Yeah, we do rely heavily on
On staff.
breadcrumbs to point us in the right direction on things.
Yeah, we all have
They're
other
not a full-time
full-time stuff to do.
Yeah.
We could be more engaged if we were here.
Yeah. All right, any other concerns?
No.
All right, item number 7, we are adjourned.
Second, speaker.